Well, it's Groundhog Day again, and I guess that means we're doing another 19XX on Groundhog Day. Well, I just said that. Anyway, I guess we have Danny in Baltimore and Kaiser here. Not that that's really a surprise, since they're here every day. But we're going to be talking about Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, and a little bit more on the background of that. So let's get into a little bit of the background. Groundhog Day is actually one of my favorite all-time movies. There's very few movies I would actually give a perfect 10 to. This is actually one in that rare category that actually gets a perfect 10 for me.
And how many of your perfect 10 movies have Bill Murray in them?
Well, there's Ghostbusters. There's that.
That's what I said.
But I mean, there's others. Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings. Got others.
Is the movie Perfect 10 in your Perfect 10?
What's that?
Isn't there a movie called Perfect 10 with Bo Derek?
No.
No, it's just 10.
Oh, that's just called 10? Oh.
That was more of an 8.
Yeah, you.
Sorry, Bo
The
Derek.
movie, not Bo Derek. The movie. So Groundhog Day was directed by Harold Ramis, who played Egon in Ghostbusters, so there's a little bit of a familiarity there. The film came out in 1993 on February 12th, so it missed Groundhog Day by a good 10 days. But
It's okay. It was probably because the film saw its shadow or something.
and I had to wait for another box
Maybe
office
you could just
weekend.
keep asking for Phil.
Phil Connors?
That's my favorite part. No, it's one of my favorite parts.
It's
There's so many
one.
favorite parts in this.
Ned?
Steven Tobolowsky, pretty freaking brilliant.
Yeah, yes, he was. So we have a trailer, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I can pull
Get
it
us-
up.
We can trailer this all up.
Get us in the mood.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yes, feeling nice and trailery today.
We are
So-
trailering. We're trailering it right. Make sure. Get a nice mix of sound here.
Let
Okay.
you sound that off.
My cursor's over the play button. All right.
Uh-huh.
It's not under.
Uh-huh.
No, wait. Oh, no. It's good. And I'm going to hit it right.
How many times have you seen the trailer?
I'm going to hit the play button right now.
I feel like I've seen this
Groundhog time.
here.
I feel like I've seen this trailer before. It's
Deja
weird.
vu feeling going on. I don't know about you.
Weatherman Phil Connors is spending the day in Punxsutawney,
This
Pennsylvania.
big blue thing.
Ned!
Ned!
Ned Ryerson, I did the whistling belly button trick at the high school talent show.
Bing!
Bang!
But Phil's about to find out. He's not just stuck in Punxsutawney.
Watch your
checking
step.
out
It's
today,
a
Mr.
doozy.
Chance of departure today, 100%.
He's stuck
Feel like I've seen this.
in Groundhog Day.
I'm reliving
This
the
is
I want
familiar.
an alarm clock like that now.
Bill!
The old flippy.
Ned,
Yeah, the old slippy kind.
Oh yeah.
deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster.
I don't think so, but I could check with the kitchen.
Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again?
At first, he was a little anxious.
Yeah.
Bill? What?
Will you be checking out today, Mr. Collins?
I'd say the chance of departure is 80%.
But now,
We could do whatever we want.
he's discovering the possibilities
Don't you worry about cholesterol?
Whoa.
and living life like there's no tomorrow.
Phil Connors!
Ned!
Because there isn't.
I am an immortal. I have been stabbed, shot, burned, frozen, electrocuted.
This is another one of those. It's really showing the whole everything.
movie.
Yeah, this
I
is.
stunt
He's not
double.
scored.
But to get what his heart wants most
Well,
Are you looking for Phil a
It
date
kind of
for
would
the
have
weekend?
to. It makes
means
sense
living
though.
this day over again.
They're
Till
showing,
he gets it
you
right.
keep repeating the same day, so they're repeating the same stuff.
That would be funny if it was just like a 10-second loop delay.
I study 19th century French poetry.
Yeah.
Let's make our own trailer.
You speak French.
Bill Murray, Andy McDowell,
To the Groundhog.
I always drink to world peace. What should we drink to?
World peace.
I like to say a prayer and drink to world peace. Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry.
I know somebody who recreated that
He might
scene.
be okay.
Oh yes. Yes. Yes, indeed.
Life has a funny way of repeating itself.
What did you do
Ow.
today?
Oh, same old, same old.
Yes, indeed.
Nice. All right, let me click back over to the.
Thing you do. So, as you can tell from the trailer, Groundhog Day centers around weatherman Phil Connors, played by Bill Murray, and Bill is an absolute jerk. There's nothing like
Oh
that.
yeah.
He's just nasty to everybody in proximity. He's rude, doesn't care. You know.
I mean, it's just when we think of that role. I mean, Bill Murray. I mean, who else could? I mean, that's just like his shtick, isn't it?
Sarcastic, smarmy.
Yeah.
You know who he Ramis wanted originally? Tom Hanks.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
He couldn't have pulled off the
He said,
transition.
and he originally, or he eventually said no because he's too nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be my reason.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This is I don't know if I give it a 10, guy, but it is definitely well crafted, really excellently acted, and interesting, combination. There's those when they talk about like lightning in a bottle. I feel like this is kind of like one of those films that's lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of high electricity charging moments on it because I don't think that the relationship between the director and the star actor went very well. But it really was an amazingly well livable film. Like it still has resonance today. Like I think it's very kind of topical. Yeah, timeless.
Timeless, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's stuck in that day for long enough, right?
Well, how many times? Like, how long was he repeating that day? Like 20 years? I mean, to memorize everything.
So there are a couple theories. There's no set date, of course.
Right.
Harold Ramis speculated that. I mean, because you got to think about it. He's learning piano. He's learning ice sculpting.
French.
He's French, reading.
Yeah.
Who knows how many books. Harold Ramis said probably around 30 to 40 years he was trapped in the same day. Although one of these websites, because I looked this up a long time in the past, but a lot of these websites kind of said basically the approximate amount of time to do all these various activities. Probably somewhere just shy under 34 years he was trapped in this day.
Oh wow.
Same thing over.
Yeah, and I think I read that in the film they only show like 36 or 38 actual days. But of course, like we were talking about, yeah, like 30, 40 years is kind of the sort of figure amount that they're going with.
Oh yeah, because you think about things. How many times did he have to like really just sit there with throwing playing cards into a hat and getting it near perfect?
Right.
Knowing the exact route of pretty much everyone in town to where he could plan a route to save and have the most impact.
Yeah.
Like the kid falling out of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's from the movie, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You never thank me.
Yes, you never thank me.
Yeah. I remember the one of the stories that came about with Ramis and Murray was when they were talking about the scenes, Bill would just say, "Is this good Phil or bad Phil?" Like that's what he needed to know to go into the scene.
Right.
Which is, simplest terms, yeah, and then you go from there. But
yeah, for me, it's a wonderful film. It's one of my favorites. One that I watch every stinking year. Because not only for the main character, but for all the background characters.
Yeah.
I love just their uniqueness, not just their looks, but their personalities and such.
Yeah.
And it really, I didn't really care about Punxsutawney and the whole Groundhog and that whole spiel until this movie came out. And then I was actually became interested about that, just the culture of that town and how they, they've built so much tourism and created their own economy around this whole concept. It's kind of fascinating if you go back and research upon the history of it and all of that. I'd like to know how much improv was done, because we know Bill Murray loves to improvise. Be interesting to know how much of it was improvisation versus script. And it's something I haven't bothered to research, but I'd like to know. And I always love adult coming of age movies like this, because that's what I see this as. We've always been given it to us through John Hughes and the directors that we like, of kids and or teenagers having their coming of age movies and all that. But this one is an adult. This guy was an absolute jerk, and the universe, for whatever reason, chose him to kind of right himself wrong. And I just find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Literally froze him out of the world via a blizzard, in the most literal sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot that... One of the reasons why it resonates with me so highly, I mean, as I said at the beginning of this, Phil Connors is toxic. Everything he does is toxic. Every relationship, he doesn't have any meaningful, sustainable relationships. You can only really speculate what his life is like back in, back at the weather station, is like just day to day. Probably he's a womanizer. Probably doesn't have any meaningful relationships. Probably doesn't care about anybody. And then he gets stuck. And then he meets Rita, the producer, who's very optimistic and upbeat. And, he thinks he's just going to... Because he went after that other girl in the film and, had it one night and kind of realized he liked Rita. And then, but he works and works and works. And as the trailer showed, he literally does create the perfect date. But he can't do it again. And then it just goes to that montage where it's like slap, slap, slap. Because... that one time he actually got it right, because he actually invested not only so much in the scenario itself, but in her and in himself. And he couldn't recreate that moment no matter how hard he tried, because that's just not the way I believe any of that works.
Right. Yeah.
And he went through a whole phase of series. I mean, you got to think about how long this is for him to go through this, because, he's trapped in this hell, according to him. I mean, this is hell to him, and he sort of makes peace with everything. Not just, I'm not trying to impress her. I'm trying to be someone. He goes past just trying to impress her or trying to recreate something that is superficial. It's like he starts opening up to her in different ways, There's no more trying anymore. He just is. And I think that, and they do have another breakthrough moment where she believes him. It's like that whole, I'm not a god. I'm not the god. I don't think.
Right.
And he starts listing the whole list of things everyone's going to do in the next few minutes. And she believes him. And it's something in him, I think, that changes him, because it's I'm not going to do all this stuff trying to impress her, because that's not how it works. And I mean, he goes, like I said, he goes through a suicidal phase where he kills himself who knows how many times. And it's all that misery and all that self-loathing and hatred, he literally has time to work that out of his system. It's as dark as that is, that's a therapy for him.
Right.
Right, yeah.
And he doesn't do things because it impresses people. He just does them because it's the right thing to do. And he stops being a jerk to the cameraman, Larry, who's played by Chris Elliott. And, he builds this whole routine, and it's like he's not only learning this, he's not learning things just to impress her. He's learning things because he has time. And it's just, he like improves himself so much that he has to look within in order to make him a better person to other people. And I think that's a very interesting lesson. And I think that leads to another question that I'd like to ask all of you. Let's say, obviously none of us have the toxicity of Phil Connors, but you wake up one morning, freak, whatever. You wake up one morning and you're stuck in the same day after, listening to Sonny and Cher every morning ad infinitum. What do you do if you wake up in your own personal Groundhog Day? How do you think you react to that?
I'd find whoever killed me.
Oh, wrong movie. It's the Campbell Soup Kid. Kip's big boy.
Yeah.
No, I think I would learn. I think I would take the time to learn things like that. You always say, "Oh, I wish I would learn Spanish or Italian or French, or like how to play piano, sonata or something." Yep. And if you've got infinite time, put it to use, or try to do something good, meaningful. Right. If it's,
Yeah, I totally learned how to play guitar and piano.
I learned programming.
So you can program yourself out?
Not the Matrix. That came out 6 years later.
Dang it. What about you, Guy?
I don't know. I mean, that's like, I've really thought about it. It's like, what would I do if time was meaningless? Consequence was meaningless.
Right, yeah.
That's
the other thing. Consequence is meaningless. You're right.
Because that's a whole other thing. He clicks in that car with those two drunk guys, and he's like, I can do whatever I want. And sure enough, he does. I mean, he ends up in jail. Like I said, he just kills himself a billion times over. I mean, think about it. It's like, obviously that's not the best way, but in a world of no consequence, where you wake up the next day at 6 a.m. and he literally confides, there's nothing I can do about it. And he can't find his way out of it, even when he starts being better and starts being good. It takes him a while. I mean, to literally find that. But I think for me, I don't know. I've thought about it in two ways. I've thought about it the way if I was trapped in a small town by a blizzard, or if I was trapped, if there was no, I just had like X amount of time, like 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. the next day to kind of do whatever I wanted, but there was no boundary. If there was no boundary, I would probably travel everywhere where 24 hours would allow.
That's what I was about to say. If I wasn't trapped in the town, I would drive 24 hours in every possible direction.
Oh, yeah, sail boats. I mean, I would literally just go everywhere an airplane could take me, because obviously you wake up and your funds are replenished, and I would be in a decent place.
Well, you could hijack the airplane.
Oh, it could hijack the airplane. Right. Maybe back in '93. I don't know if it's so much now.
Not like a
and if you can, it doesn't matter.
Hijack like that. Like steal it before all the people are on board.
Well, that's true, because you could anticipate every single move before and go teach yourself flying.
Yeah.
And if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter, because you're back the next day. No harm, no foul.
Right.
But if I was trapped in a place, I'd probably spend a lot of times. I don't know if I do the cycle of self-death every time, but it would allow me to kind of like heal my own internal things and kind of like really sort out stuff. So I don't have that excess internal baggage holding me back on anything. Because, I mean, obviously you have 35 years or so, or however long it would take for me to sort that out. I'd read a lot more. I'd watch a lot more movies. I'd, learn some skills. I'd probably have deeper conversations with people.
Yeah.
I would set the world on fire. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, you would set the world on fire?
Just to watch it burn. It'll
be back.
Wow. I would do the Toys R Us shopping spree that I never got, where you could, like that was the big grand prize where you run through and just throw all the stuff in there. Yeah, I would totally recreate that.
That would be amazing. Well, I wonder. Okay, so after you've learned whatever you're supposed to learn, and the day actually continues to the next day, would you keep all the memories and skills that you've learned?
He did.
He did.
I know, but I guess I'm asking. In your world, would you?
In our scenario, would it be different?
Yeah.
I'd hope not. It'd be pointless.
That would be a really kind of like.
Yeah, and what if the universe is like totally messing with you, and like you do like a bad thing, and you're in jail, and then the next day happens, and it's February 3rd. You're like, crap.
Yeah, that decides that's the moment that it kicks off.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got to be an interesting thing for the world around him once it starts moving forward again, because he's a total jerk, and then 2 days later he's like freaking amazing and everybody loves him. I mean, if he even bothered going back to Chicago, how would he even approach his coworkers?
Right.
Or what they'd probably be like, oh hey, and he'd be like, what's wrong with him? He doesn't suck anymore. Because even that last day, because as I said, he has 2 moments where he tells Andy McDowell, Rita, what's going on. That first time where she's, because she is who she is, she's willing to entertain that there's some magic in the world and believes him, but obviously back to default. And then the second time, there's no build-up, there's no time to really prove it. He's just so matter of fact, because even when he tried on those multi-dates over, I love you, and she's like, you love me, you don't even know me, and she was like so grossed out because he was being smarmy and he didn't mean it. The fact that he got to a point in his world where he spends 35 years with her essentially and just says with such conviction, I love you, and she's not like, I just met you yesterday. She's like, okay. And they have their moment, and I think and there's 2 things. Obviously he worked out his stuff to the point where the universe was satisfied and allowed him to go forward, but then he also asked her to stay, and he didn't do that the last time they were together.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe because he meant it, and maybe because he actually didn't suck anymore, that the world said, all right, I think he's learned his lesson and then some. So he's probably amazing that kind of wakes up the next day, and that's got to be weird for him after 35 days of knowing 35 years of knowing exactly everything that's going to happen, and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and then everything is like new and you can't predict anything anymore. It's got to be a relief, but at the same time it's like madness. Yeah. So I think that's why I like that film so much. It's just it just allows so much growth, especially self-growth. I think that's the thing. It's like he doesn't try to become a better person. He becomes a better person, and he truly is. He just is. Yeah. And I think that's a real interesting lesson. I'd be willing to go through a Groundhog Day just to see what happens.
How many of them?
Well, I don't know. How long is it going to take to fix me? I might be there a while.
Yeah, that's it too. Is like, if we each were personally stuck on our own personal Groundhog Day in the setup of this movie, to where there is some personal defect or something that needs to be worked out, how long would it take? Would you? Maybe you don't ever get over it.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that kind of sets this movie apart is the concept's not groundbreaking. It's not like, oh my God. But I think it's the concept coupled with the writing, coupled with the acting that really elevate it to an iconic, status. I think it's like everything was kind of falling in favor to, the movie. And I think it works really, really well. And, it's one of those things where if one of those things weren't right, it could have been just another ho-hum. Oh, seriously? But it's, great.
Yeah. It's as equally sincere as it is absurd, and I think that really balances well.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're getting into an impromptu staring contest for a moment there. Well, unless anyone else has any other great pithy thoughts about, we're getting into a weird stare. Stop it, man! You're freaking me out, man. Talk about this tomorrow when I see you again. Yeah. Well, I guess that is everything for Groundhog Day. This is probably one of our more philosophical 19XXs. And
as in Punxsutawney Phil, as in philosophical.
Yeah, like Phil the Groundhog.
How this conversation went last time.
That's right. But that's what you said last time. So anyway, thanks again for another great 19XX, and as always, all Geek does. Take care. See you tomorrow, maybe.
6 a.m.
And put your little hand in mine.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot this.
I get live. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Wake up, campers. Time to put your booties on because it's cold outside. Groundhog Day again, and I guess that means we're doing another 19XX on Groundhog Day. What the hell? I just said that. It's Groundhog Day again. And I guess that means we're doing another 19XX on Groundhog Day. What the hell? I just said that.